So today, thankfully for me and unfortunately for you all, I got this stage, and at best I might not get invited again, but let me speak the truth. So the very first time as a young boy, I told my father at 10th class that Nana, I will get state first rank in the 10th class. I was not Banu Prakash, so, so when the result came, I came first but from the bottom. Okay, so my father was shell-shocked when he saw it, and my mother started to cry. My sister disowned me, and I was sort of okay, and then my father told me that, so I told my father, that's okay Nana, 12th class lo IIT foundation courses kunnavo. Then my father said, rendu mobile number leskoni add cheyi em ustudo ade nee rank vastadi. IIT kaadu kada, light teesko ikkada pass avunu mundu. Now, let's look at how we actually make decisions, and that's the purpose of this theme. So in 10th class, right after I scored some marks which I don't remember, I remember but I don't want to tell you, and I passed social with just 1 mark, we had to make the ultimate decision. Okay, I'm a South Indian vegetarian Brahmin, and I cannot draw, therefore no BPC. Okay, I scored and passed my social with 1 mark. So no HEC. Someone told that if you take CEC, you won't get married in Hyderabad. Okay. Only all the qualifications will take that and get married. Okay. So the only branch that was left was, Sri Chaitanya Narayana Ungabeti Kodite. I secured 942nd rank in MSET with don't be in a hurry. Okay. So that particular day, I went to the counseling center, and I took the seat. Another friend of mine also took the seat. He came, he hugged me and he said, Mama, manam same college. And nenu mama na eppudu ela ikkada pada college podam. That day for the first time we took the bus right out of JNTU Arts College. We took a bus. Rain came, sunshine came. Rainbow also came. College did not come. Finally, the bus stopped. We got down. It was Vasavi College. And then we were like, no, let's get this. And then we finally come to the college. I was shell-shocked because here was a person who can't walk, who has never walked in life, and this is almost like 50 kilometers away from home. In professional career or in corporate tech, that's called on-site. Okay, so I was taking a bus and coming all the way on site. My friend said, take the other bus lone vette ayipotadu kada engineering akkadne gadichipoyadu. So that evening I went back, and for the very first time in my life I faced the villain. Now in every life there is a villain. In every life, most of them might be in college only for you, but you don't know. But in my life there was this villain, and she was this 40-year-old auntie delivered to my house. That day, when I actually took the seat and went into my house, she came, Sai, remember, ragging is not allowed only in college. Your entire life, society will rag you, left, right and center. She came down to me and she asked, Sai, and she said, seat తీసుకున్నావా? తీసుకున్నాను ఆంటీ. ఎక్కడ తీసుకున్నావు? CBIT. ఎక్కడుంది? ఎక్కడో ఉంది. దగ్గరే ఉంది. And at that particular point of time, she said, Ayya, how can you go? How can you actually climb stairs? How would you go take a bus every day? Is this all possible? And when the society started to rap, that was the point where you start to feel emotion. All the navarasas and all will come at that point. Okay, you want to tell bad words back to the society, but you can't. Because if you tell bad words, remember you have a sister, okay, and she might not get married because they tell that this is the way your family has been brought up. So let's look at under such circumstances what actually happened in my life. So just to give a quick glimpse, because we are short of time, in 1984, a couple fell in love and got married. The guy worked for Indian Railways, and the girl studied in the same college as us. And they got married and they gave birth to me. Obviously they are my parents. And when I was born with a disability, a lot of people tended to believe that it was because they fell in love and they didn't confer. This is 1984, remember? When I was in college, mobile phones were not allowed. So time has changed, but back then that was the scenario. So my dad took a transfer and he came to Andhra Pradesh, and he had only one hope, the hope that somehow education will turn around my life. Remember, one of the biggest problems in our country is that our finances are middle class, dreams are high class, execution is low class. So, what happened at that particular point of time was that my father genuinely believed that education will turn around my life. He put a lot of pressure on me to actually study. He told me, dude, we are in a railway quarters. If you ever want to move out of this quarters, please for heaven's sake study. And I was a cricket fan. Okay, for all the life, I still am a cricket fan. And it so happened that one particular day, when my dad was forcing me to study, I found the best strategy to tell him how not to study. I told him that I will go to study when Rahul Dravid gets out. And that was the day Rahul Dravid batted for 2 days. It was the famous 2001 Kolkata cricket test match, where he batted for 2 complete days. And I was shocked at the determination, because Dravid is not talented like Sachin, nor he is intuitive like Sehwag. Dravid is simply Dravid. Okay. He just irritates the bowlers. Okay, when Dravid gets out, India feels happy. Imagine that. Imagine the state of the opposition. And that was the moment I told myself, in education, probably I am not a Sachin, probably I am not a Sehwag, but I can be a Dravid. So no matter what topics were there in physics, what topics were there in anything, I stuck to that and I started my career. So thanks to that, I made it into our great college. I was here for 4 years, and yeah, it feels good to be back. But the real challenge started after our college, because I got placed into Infosys, which back then was like an achievement and people told congratulations. And I got into Infosys, and for the very first time I was sent out of my house for a training in Mysore. And that was the moment I realized that I as a person can also stay alone. When I was in college, I had a scooty, thanks to our principal right now. He used to allow the scooty to go ahead and be in front of every building. The labs were kept in ground floor. The environment was fabulous, but when I went to Infosys, that was the first time I realized what an accessible infrastructure is, and how even a person who cannot even walk can go ahead and stay and enjoy his life to the fullest. So when I experienced that infrastructure, I wondered how come Infosys is providing so many facilities when it is against the rules of the country to provide any facility. Okay, so I started to go ahead and Google out, and I figured out that there is something called American Disability Act, and foreign countries abroad provide facilities for all sorts of people with all kinds of disabilities. And that was the moment I wanted to go and study abroad. The moment I said I will go to US, one day while having dinner, my father laughed. I was serious. Then my father got serious. So I laughed. So I told my father, just kidding. I told my mom, Ma, I topped the university or topped our college. Maybe I want to pursue. All too faltu people are going, so I can also go. No. Then she started to cry. Emotional blackmail. At which point I secretly wrote the GRE, TOEFL, cleared the exam, applied to 6 universities, got admission into all the 6 universities, including Stanford University. Story starting out, and didn't have money to actually go and study there. So I did a couple of training sessions. I started skill training development workshops, raised money, and eventually kind of pulled the entire money out together. The first workshop that I did was actually in our own college, where I charged students money. The pooled money was what I used to study for my own MS degree. So in a way, college actually helped me out. Now, I went to this university called University of Wisconsin-Madison. I graduated top of the school there, and what actually happened at that particular moment was I remember how every person who actually came into my life discouraged the thought that I cannot survive alone in the US. Because almost people made fun of me. They said, "Basu kuda ekkalevu, America lo alone ga ela untavu ani." So in order to give a message to all those people, I thought I will make a fantastic video on how facilities are really good for people with disabilities in the US as compared to India. I made a great video, put it up on YouTube, shared it on Facebook and Orkut. 2 people watched it, me and my friend. I tried to push it to a lot of people. Nobody on the planet cared. Because remember, disability, I mean, what are you talking about? So at that point, my friend said, that was the moment I saw Rang De Basanti movie, and Amir Khan has this famous dialogue where he says like, "Kuch dhamaka karo, agar sunna hai to." So we decided we will go ahead and do a dhamaka. At which point, I also started to read a book called Bhagavad Gita, because in the US you can do only 2 things. Okay, either suffer and after the suffering start reading Bhagavad Gita. So I started reading Bhagavad Gita to try and know what is the concept of disability and why do people actually involve karma into disability. And I was shell shocked at the 3 opinions of the 3 holy books that is perpetuating the world. The first book was Bhagavad Gita, which believed that if you perform sin or bad karma in your previous life, then in this life you will actually suffer. That's one of the predominant views up there in the Bhagavad Gita. The Holy Bible goes ahead and says that God wants to show the miracle through you. That is why He made you disabled. This was like way too much. Special attention from God. In fact, if you actually see, nowadays there is a fancy term in the world for disabled people. Do you all know what it is? Differently abled. Okay, that's like calling a single guy differently romantic. Okay, so I don't know what to actually do about this. So I kept reading the Bhagavad Gita, and in one of the beautiful passages it says that life is composed of 5 elements: sky, earth, water, fire and air. And that only a person with complete abilities can activate his chakras and experience all these 5 elements. I was like, oh, hold on. And I decided, okay, we'll get to do something about this. So for sky, I picked up the element skydiving. I paid $400 and I wanted to show people that in spite of my disability, I will be able to experience skydiving. Remember, I paid $400. It was an emotional moment. So at the top of the plane, when I was about to jump, I jumped because I paid. Because if I didn't jump, my father would push me anyway. Like I wasted the $400 to jump. It was supposed to be on the occasion of my mom's birthday, and halfway through the air, I said, "Please get me down." That's the lip sync that seems like happy birthday. I said, and when I got down on the ground, my friend had enough common sense to put an Indian flag in my hand, and he said, we both together screamed, "This is for the cause of disability and all the disabled people in India." And surprisingly, that video was shared by close to 2,000 people. Amir Khan watched it. Okay, he called me over to Satyamev Jayate, and I was like, because there was a fantastic video, remember, which only 2 people watched. And that's the state of our country. Sometimes you have to introduce novelty to a cliched message so that people who are disinterested in hearing you, at least to show some patience to sit on a chair and say, "Okay, Baba, continue." Okay, so for sky we thought of that. For earth, I went to one of the oldest places on earth called the Grand Canyon. They have some of the oldest sediments of rock on there. We took a helicopter, went there, lived for almost a week. What happened because of that? Only my manager got angry, nothing happened there. The big challenge was water. My friend thought that the best challenge for water would be to take scuba diving. But scuba diving is done by honeymoon couples these days. So I was like really not interested in that. So in a grand moment, I decided that I will take a plunge at the intersection of the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. So again I went to my father and I said, "Nana, on Shivratri day, between the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, I want to go ahead and take a plunge." And at which point he continued, he did not even smile, he did not even get angry. He reached that 6th stage of Nirvana. But I told my parents to get enlightenment. I am the true and only good son on the planet. Now let's change. So this was the Grand Canyon. Next, go ahead. Next, yeah. So how do I go to the intersection of Pacific and Atlantic? That was the big problem. So there was this great guy called Sir Robert Swan, and he was the first man to walk to both North Pole and South Pole. Don't ask why he walked, people do some stuff like that. And when he came back, he discovered that there was a hole in the ozone layer that had caused skin cancer for him. Some of the people actually said he deserved it because he was simply walking around. And some other people came out and asked, you went to Antarctica? Was it cold? When people ask stupid questions like that, you actually know that you can survive in this world. Okay. And that was the point I realized that when this man could walk to North Pole and South Pole, how did he manage to do it? So I shot him an email and surprisingly he responded. Okay, and he was planning for another journey to go to Antarctica. And he said, I will take you along as you go ahead and raise awareness on climate change issues in India. I was like, lol. In India, people care for food, clothing, shelter. Okay, when you talk about climate change and all, people are going to say lol. And at this point, we drafted a plan and we kind of came up with an awareness session. I kind of took the message across 20,000 people, because of which he said, I will take you to Antarctica. So the journey to Antarctica started. This was Sir Robert Swan. Please go ahead. So how do I survive in the Antarctic? Please look at this picture very carefully. We trained for almost, I think, 20 days on the terrain of Andes. And because the terrain of Andes Mountains in South America is supposed to be similar to the terrain of Antarctica. And we practiced for a lot of time and we figured out that yes, I could walk. The crutches that I am using right now would skid on the moisture. So we cut off the small bearings below it and we put tennis balls, and so that it doesn't skid, I get more friction. It was engineering at its best. Okay. That was the only piece of engineering I did in my entire life, apart from lab externals where we know what we do. So, did you all classically, now look at this picture and understand what actually is the mistake in that. So we practiced, the doctor certified that you can survive about 10 to 15 days on the Antarctic continent. Here's the classic mistake. Throughout the Andes practice, I was holding my crutches and look at my hands, they had no gloves. But the moment I go into Antarctic, I would wear very thick gloves which would go ahead and prevent me from even holding my crutches. And that was a dream crash. Remember, sometimes you can prepare a lot in life and then one of the smallest things will come back to bite you. What is that called? Karma. Now let's look at what actually happens because of it. So, next picture. So I decided to take revenge on Britishers because they ruled us for 200 years and we carried them for almost like I decided it's high time you carry an Indian. So we decided to carry me on the Antarctic terrain. We made sledges and we asked 3 Britishers to kind of drag me onto the Antarctic continent. Next, on the Shivratri day at the intersection of the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, I did take a polar plunge. You can go ahead and shoot a video on that on YouTube. Next. And I became the first CBITian to have avakaya on the Antarctic continent. And my understanding is some people, the penguin in the picture is sometimes more wiser than some of the people who criticize you unnecessarily about your dreams. So when I came back from the Antarctic journey and went back to my old villain, the old villain auntie said, "Naku appude telusu. Neelo oka talent unnai. Okay, pike ostava naku appude telusu." So okay, then she started me to introduce to all kinds of people and say, he is actually my neighbor, he is actually my neighbor. And when eventually Satyamev Jayate actually turned up and we kind of shared the story, it kind of was my shot to fame. But does it stop there? What do we do? It was one of the most biting remarks I ever heard in life. And what actually happened was, in spite of all this achievement, one of the most fabulous questions that was ever asked of me was actually at my another alma mater, ISB, where they said, "Sai, you're doing a great job, you're raising awareness, but are you actually solving any problem?" My dean actually came down to me and said, "Sai, people at the end of your life will simply say you got lucky. And there are almost millions of people out there who might not be as lucky as you. So what are you going to do about them?" So I took up my next challenge and I started to work on an employment model. The employment model is about generating jobs for people with disabilities, where disability is an advantage. To explain it to you simply, imagine a traffic police. What is the number one problem for a traffic police? The traffic noise and his wife. Okay, so that day long he hears the traffic noise and the pollution, and at the end of the day he gets drunk, goes back to his house, and when his wife talks, okay, he beats her up. Okay, now imagine if that traffic police was by birth hearing impaired. Then disability is actually an advantage for him. So we started to go out and generate jobs for people with disabilities. where disability is an advantage. We looked at the hospitality sector, we looked at the IT sector, we looked at a couple of manufacturing and other industries, and we wrote a fantastic proposal, and then we submitted it to the Home Ministry. I got a national award for that, and in the proposal, on the proposal, I think there are a couple of samosas right now, because there are not enough people who are being employed. Remember, one of the most horrible things that the government did to persons with disabilities was to give a 3% reservation. This is like government telling me, Sai, I know you cannot climb 3 floors in college, but climb the 3 floors, get lesser percentage, you'll still get the admit. Disability is not caste to go ahead and get reservations and all that. Disability at the end of the day is disability that cannot be solved by a reservation problem. So when people say it's an inspiration, and they say you also continue to suffer and you will overcome it, then all I have to say is true inspiration is not about replicating other people's suffering and succeeding, but asking the fundamental question, why are people suffering on this planet? Why is the problem actually existing? And if the problem is existing at that point, what can we actually do in order to overcome and solve that problem? It was my attempt to go ahead and look at the problem and solve it in a different way that has brought me to this point. I hope I solve this problem and one day come back to CBIT as an inspiration. Thank you so much.